Jiho Park walked through the dirty streets of Nexus Station. The air smelled bad. It always smelled bad here. Oil, smoke, and too many different aliens living too close together made the whole place stink. He pulled his brown jacket tighter. His cargo ship needed new parts, and Nexus Station was the only place to get them without asking too many questions. Jiho did not like questions. Questions meant trouble, and he had enough trouble already. The station was huge. It floated in space between 3 different star systems. Traders, smugglers, and criminals from across the galaxy came here to do business. The Hegemony Corporation controlled most of it, but they let the small crimes slide. As long as they got their taxes, they did not care what happened in the dark corners. Jiho passed a group of tall, blue-skinned Korathi arguing over the price of weapons. 2 small, furry Tikkans ran between the bigger aliens, selling information and stolen goods. Everyone here was trying to survive. Everyone here was running from something. He stopped at Bento's part shop. The owner was a fat, green alien with 4 arms. Bento smiled when he saw Jiho. His teeth were yellow and sharp. "Human," Bento said in broken galactic standard. "You need parts, yes? I have good parts. Human parts are expensive, but I give you good price." "I need bio-neural cables," Jiho said. "The old ones in my ship are dying." Bento's smile got bigger. "Ah, yes, very expensive. Bio-neural cables are hard to find. Maybe 5,000 credits?" Jiho knew the parts were worth maybe 1,000, but arguing with Bento was useless. Everyone charged humans more. They thought humans were rich because Earth had won the war against the hegemony. Jiho was not rich. He was just trying to keep his old cargo ship flying. 3,000, Jiho said. 4,000, and I throw in some food packets, Bento replied. Before Jiho could answer, he heard shouting from the alley next to the shop. A female voice was crying. Then he heard the sound of someone being hit. "Please," the voice said, "I will pay." "I just need more time." Jiho looked toward the alley. It was not his business. On Nexus Station, smart people minded their own business. But the voice sounded scared and desperate. "Maybe you check later?" Bento said, noticing Jiho's attention. "Bad things happen in alleys. Humans should be careful." Jiho heard the voice. "Again, I beg you, my family is dead. I have nothing left. Please do not sell me to the flesh markets." Something in the voice made Jiho move. He walked to the alley entrance and looked inside. 3 big aliens in black uniforms had cornered a smaller figure against the wall. Hegemony debt collectors. Jiho recognized the uniforms. The aliens looked like giant insects with hard shells. And too many arms. The figure they surrounded was female. She had pale blue skin that seemed to glow softly in the dim light. Her hair was white and moved like it was floating in water. She was beautiful in a way that made Jiho's chest feel tight. She was Villani? Jiho had heard of them but never seen one. The Villani were almost extinct. Their homeworld had been destroyed by the hegemony years ago. "Debt is debt," one of the collectors said. His voice sounded like grinding metal. "Your family signed the bio-patent contract. Now you must pay." "They are dead," the Villani female said. Tears ran down her face. "The hegemony killed them and took everything. How can I pay a debt with nothing?" "Not our problem," another collector said. "The flesh markets will pay good money for a pure Villani. Your bio-manipulation abilities are worth more than your debt," the third collector laughed. It was a horrible sound. "Maybe we have some fun first. Villani are supposed to be very cooperative." The female pressed herself against the wall. Her big, silver eyes were full of terror. "Please, I will do anything. I will work for free. Just do not sell me to those places. Too late for that," a first collector said. He reached for her with one of his many arms. Jiho stepped into the alley. "Hey!" All 3 collectors turned to look at him. Their bug-like eyes focused on his face. One of them made a clicking sound with his mouth. "Human," the first collector said. "This is not your business. Walk away." "Maybe it is my business," Jiho said. He was not a big man, but something in his voice made the collectors step back. "You do not understand." the second collector said. This female owes the Hegemony Corporation over 50,000 credits. The debt is legal. I understand fine, Jiho said. I also understand that you are about to leave her alone. The third collector pulled out a shock weapon. Stupid human. There are 3 of us and 1 of you. Even if your species won the war, you're still just meat, Jiho smiled. It was not a nice smile. Just meat, huh? What happened next took maybe 10 seconds. Jiho moved faster than the collectors expected. His hand hit the weapon arm of the third collector. The bone broke with a loud crack. The weapon fell to the ground. The second collector tried to grab Jiho with his 4 arms. Jiho ducked under the grab and hit the collector in the throat. The alien made a choking sound and fell backward. The first collector was bigger and stronger than his friends. He rushed at Jiho with all his arms spread wide. Jiho waited until the last second, then stepped to the side. He grabbed one of the collector's arms and used the alien's own speed to throw him into the wall. The collector hit hard and did not get up. The whole fight was over before the Villani female could even gasp. Jiho looked down at the 3 collectors. 2 were unconscious. The third was holding his broken arm and making whimpering sounds. Tell your bosses the debt is cancelled, Jiho said. You cannot cancel hegemony debt, the injured collector said. They will send more of us. Let them try, Jiho said. His voice was calm, but his eyes were cold. I am human. We do not scare easy. The collector looked at Jiho's face and seemed to understand something. He helped his 2 friends stand up, and all 3 of them limped out of the alley as fast as they could move. Jiho turned to look at the Villani female. She was staring at him with her mouth open. Her silver eyes were wide with shock. You saved me, she said. Her voice was soft and musical. But why? I am nothing. I am nobody. Everyone is somebody, Jiho said. Are you hurt? She shook her head. No, but they will come back. They always come back. And next time they will bring more collectors. Jiho thought about this. She was probably right. The hegemony did not like to lose money, and they really did not like being embarrassed by humans. What is your name? He asked. Kira, she said. I was Kira of the 3rd Bio Garden on Velen Prime, before the hegemony destroyed everything. I am Jiho, he said. I have a cargo ship. Maybe I can help you get somewhere safe. Kira's eyes filled with tears again. But these tears were different. These were tears of hope. Then she did something that surprised Jiho. She dropped to her knees in front of him and put her forehead on the ground. Great human warrior, she said. I beg you to accept me as your bonded servant. I offer you my life, my abilities, and my complete loyalty. Please let me serve you until the day I die. Jiho stared down at her. What are you doing? Get up. I cannot, Kira said. Villani law says I must offer myself to the one who saves my life. You are strong. You are brave. You are everything my people hope to find. Please accept me. It is the only way I can survive. Jiho did not understand what she meant by bonded servant or why she thought she had to kneel. But he could see she was serious, and he could see she was terrified. Okay, he said. But you do not have to kneel. Just get up and we will figure this out. Kira looked up at him. Her face was shining with relief and something else. Something that looked like worship. Jiho had no idea what he had just agreed to. He had no idea that he had just changed both of their lives forever, but he was about to find out. Jiho's cargo ship was old. The Soul's Pride had been his home for 5 years, ever since he left Earth's military. The ship was not pretty, but it flew, and that was all that mattered. Kira followed him through the narrow halls. She walked 3 steps behind him, just like she had walked behind him through the station. Every time Jiho slowed down, she slowed down too. When he stopped, she stopped. You can walk next to me, Jiho said. I am not going to bite you. It would not be proper, Kira said softly. A servant must walk behind her master. Jiho sighed. He was already getting tired of this master and servant talk. I am not your master. I am just helping you. Kira did not answer, but Jiho could see she did not believe him. The ship's main computer made a beeping sound as they entered the bridge. Red warning lights flashed on the control panel. "The bio-neural network failure in progress," the computer said in a flat voice. "Estimated time until complete system shutdown, 47 hours. Jiho cursed under his breath. The bio-neural cables he needed to buy were for this exact problem. Without them, his ship would not be able to fly. The computer that controlled. "Everything was dying, Master," Kira said quietly. "May I examine the bio-neural network?" "Stop calling me Master," Jiho said, "and yes, you can look. But there is nothing you can do. The cables are too old. They need to be replaced." Kira moved to the computer panel. She placed her hands on the metal surface and closed her eyes. Her pale blue skin began to glow brighter. The glow spread from her hands into the panel itself. Jiho watched in amazement. He had heard that Villani could work with biological systems, but he had never seen it before. "The neural pathways are damaged," Kira said. Her eyes were still closed, but they are not dead. They are sleeping, waiting. She pressed her hands harder against the panel. The glow got brighter. Jiho could feel warmth coming from her skin. Slowly, the red warning lights began to turn green. The computer stopped beeping. The ship's engines, which had been making sick, coughing sounds, began to run smoothly. "Bio-neural network operating at optimal efficiency," the computer announced. "All systems normal." Kira opened her eyes and stepped back. She was breathing hard, and sweat covered her forehead. But she was smiling. "The network will work perfectly now," she said. "It should last for many years." Jiho stared at the control panel. What should have taken weeks of work and thousands of credits, she had fixed in minutes. "How did you do that?" he asked. "My people can speak to living systems," Kira explained. "Bio-neural networks are part organic, part machine." I convinced the organic parts to grow new connections around the damaged areas. "That is incredible," Jiho said. Kira's smile faded. "It is nothing special. All Villani can do this. It is why the hegemony wanted us as slaves." Jiho set course for the edge of the system. He wanted to get away from Nexus Station before the debt collectors came back with friends. As the ship moved into hyperspace, he showed Kira to the small guest cabin. "You can sleep here," he said. "The bed is not fancy, but it is clean." Kira looked at the bed like it was made of gold. "This is too much, Master. A servant should not sleep in such luxury." "It is just a bed," Jiho said. "And stop calling me Master." But when Jiho woke up the next morning, he found Kira sleeping on the floor next to his cabin door. She had taken the blanket from the guest bed and made a small nest on the hard metal floor. "Why are you sleeping there?" Jiho asked. Kira sat up quickly. "I am sorry, Master. I did not mean to oversleep. A good servant should wake before her master." "That is not what I meant," Jiho said. "Why are you not sleeping in the bed I showed you?" Kira looked confused. "A servant cannot sleep on the same level as her master. It would be wrong." Jiho rubbed his forehead. This was going to be harder than he thought. At breakfast, Kira would not eat until Jiho had finished his meal. She waited by the table, watching him eat, refusing to sit down. "This is crazy," Jiho said. "Eat your food before it gets cold." "Servant eats after her master," Kira said. "It is the way." "Whose way?" Jiho asked. Who made these stupid rules?" Kira looked shocked. "They are not stupid, they are necessary. Without proper order, everything falls apart. The strong must lead and the weak must follow. It is how the universe works." Jiho was starting to understand why the Villani had been conquered so easily. They had been trained to be slaves their whole lives. 3 days later, they stopped at a small trading post to buy supplies. The post was run by a family of Korathi aliens. When Jiho walked into their shop, they all stopped what they were doing and stared at him. "Human," the shop owner said. His voice was full of respect and maybe a little fear. "What can we do for you?" "Just need some food and water," Joe said. Of course," the owner said. He ran around the shop, gathering the best food he had. "No charge, it is an honor to serve. I can pay," Jiho said. No, the owner insisted. Humans have done enough for all of us. Please, take what you need. Jiho was confused. He had never been treated like this before. Usually, aliens either ignored humans or tried to cheat them. Outside the shop, he met another human. The man was tall and thin, with gray hair and kind eyes. You look confused, friend, the man said in Korean. I am Captain Hyan. That is my ship. Over there, Jiho Park? Jiho replied, also in Korean. It felt good to speak his native language. Why was that shop owner so nice to me? Usually they try to charge me double, Captain Hyan laughed. You have not been paying attention to the news, have you? Ever since the war, humans are treated very differently out here. What do you mean? The hegemony thought we were weak, Hyan explained. They attacked Earth expecting easy victory. Instead, we gave them the worst defeat in their history. Now every alien in the galaxy knows that humans do not surrender. We adapt, we fight back, we win. I was in the war, Jiho said. But I was just an engineer. I fix ships. Does not matter, Hyan said. You are human. That means you are dangerous. The aliens respect dangerous. Jiho thought about this as they walked back to his ship. Kira was waiting by the entrance, standing exactly where he had left her. Did you know about this? Jiho asked her. About how aliens see humans now? Kira nodded. Every species knows the story of the human war. The hegemony is the strongest force in the galaxy. They have conquered 1,000 worlds. But humans made them afraid. Is that why you asked me to help you? Jiho asked. Because I am human? Kira was quiet for a long moment. My grandmother told me stories, she finally said. Old Villani legends about warrior people who would someday come from a small world. People who could not be broken. People who would free the slaves and fight the oppressors? She looked up at Jiho with her silver eyes. When I saw you fight those collectors, I knew the legends were true. Humans are the warriors we have been waiting for. Jiho felt a strange weight settle on his shoulders. He had never thought of himself as a warrior or a liberator. He was just a man trying to make a living with an old cargo ship, but as he looked at Kira's hopeful face, he began to understand something important. It did not matter what he thought about himself. What mattered was what she thought. What other aliens thought to them he was not just Jiho Park, former engineer. He was human. And that meant something in this galaxy. That night as they traveled through hyperspace, Jiho made a decision. He could not make Kira stop seeing him as her master. But maybe he could teach her to see herself as something more than a servant. It would not be easy. Her whole species had been trained to submit. But humans were good at doing impossible things. He would start tomorrow. Behind her cabin door. Kira touched the place on her chest where she could feel the bond growing stronger. The human did not understand what he had accepted when he agreed to protect her. The bond was for life. If he died, she would die. If he sent her away, she would die. But she was not afraid. For the first time since her world had burned, she felt safe. She had found her warrior. Now she would prove herself worthy of him. Jiho was fixing a loose cable when Kira asked the question that changed everything. Master, she said quietly, will you tell me about the war? Jiho stopped working. He had not talked about the war in years. Most humans who lived through it preferred to forget. Why do you want to know? He asked. My people have only heard stories, Kira said. But the stories seem impossible. They say humans defeated the hegemony in only 2 years. The hegemony had never lost a war before. Jiho put down his tools. The stories are true, but it was not as simple as winning or losing. He sat down and looked out the window at the stars rushing past. 3 years ago, the hegemony came to Earth. They sent a message first. It said we had 1 day to surrender or they would destroy our planet. Kira moved closer. What did humans do? We laughed, Jiho said. Earth's government sent back a message that said, come and try. The war begins. Jiho remembered watching the news that day. The hegemony fleet had appeared in Earth's solar system like a metal storm. Thousands of ships, each one bigger than Earth's largest city. They thought it would be easy, Jiho continued. Humans had only been in space for a few hundred years. Our technology was primitive compared to theirs. Our weapons were weak, our ships were slow. But you won, Kira said. We adapted, Jiho said. That is what humans do best. We learn. We change, we never give up. The first battle had been a disaster for Earth. Half of humanity's space fleet was destroyed in minutes. The hegemony commanders had expected humans to surrender after seeing their power. Instead, something else happened. Admiral Sora Kim was in charge of Earth's remaining ships, Jiho said. When the hegemony demanded surrender, she sent them a message. Just 2 words, try harder. What happened next shocked the galaxy. Instead of fighting the way they were supposed to fight, humans did something no other species had ever done. They started stealing. We took their weapons, Jiho explained. Every time we destroyed a hegemony ship, our people would study the wreckage. In 6 months, we had learned to build their plasma cannons. In a year, we had improved their shield. Technology. Kira's eyes were wide. You stole their own weapons and made them better? That was just the beginning, Jiho said. The turning point, the hegemony had rules for war. All civilized species followed these rules. Wars were fought between fleets in empty space. Civilian targets were avoided. Surrender was accepted when a species admitted defeat. Humans did not follow the rules. We attacked their supply lines, Jiho said. We hid inside asteroids and attacked when they did not expect it. We sent small ships to bomb their factories while their fleets were fighting our main forces. But the worst part, from the hegemony's point of view, was how humans treated their prisoners. Other species would kill hegemony prisoners or keep them in cages, Jiho explained. We did something different. We talked to them, you talked to them, we learned their language. We asked them questions about their families, their homes, their fears. Some of them had been forced to join the hegemony. Military, others were just following orders because they were afraid. What happened to these prisoners? Some of them joined us, Jiho said. They helped us understand hegemony technology and tactics. For the first time in their history, the hegemony faced an enemy that was getting stronger instead of weaker. The war had lasted 2 years. Every month, human forces became more dangerous. They used captured hegemony technology in ways the aliens had never imagined. They fought without fear, even when facing impossible odds. The final battle, the end, came at the Battle of Titan Station, Jiho said. Admiral Sora Kim led the final attack with only 50 human ships against the hegemony's core fleet of 500. Kira leaned forward. 50 against 500? That is suicide. That is what the hegemony thought too, Jiho said. But Admiral Kim had a plan. The plan was insane. Instead of fighting a normal space battle, Kim's ships flew straight into the heart of the hegemony fleet. They used their own ships as bombs, ramming into the largest hegemony vessels while their crews escaped in tiny pods. The hegemony had never seen anything like it, Jiho said. Their commanders panicked. They could not understand why humans would sacrifice themselves for victory. Did Admiral Kim survive? She died destroying the hegemony flagship, Jiho said quietly. But her sacrifice broke their will to fight. The remaining hegemony forces retreated. A month later, they asked for peace. The legend grows, that is when everything changed. Jiho continued. The hegemony had conquered hundreds of species over thousands of years. They seemed unstoppable, but humans proved they could be beaten. Kira nodded slowly. And now every species knows that the hegemony is not invincible. More than that, Jiho said. They know that humans are different. We do not surrender. We do not accept defeat. We find a way to win, even when winning seems impossible. Is that why my people's legend spoke of you? Kira asked. Because you are the ones who refuse to be broken? Before Jiho could answer, the ship's alarm began ringing. Red lights flashed on every panel. Warning, the computer announced. Multiple ships approaching. Hegemony signatures detected. Jiho ran to the bridge with Kira close behind. The scanner showed 6 large ships moving toward them fast. Too fast. To be traders or merchants. Hegemony hunters? Jiho said grimly. They found us. A message came through the communication system. The voice was cold and metallic. Human vessel Soul's Pride, you are harboring stolen hegemony property. Surrender the Villani female immediately or be destroyed. Kira stepped forward. Master, I should go to them. They only want me. There is no reason for you to fight. Jiho looked at her for a long moment. Then he smiled, the same dangerous smile he had worn in the alley on Nexus Station. You still do not understand, do you? He said, I am human. We do not abandon our friends. He opened a channel to the hegemony ships. This is Captain Jiho Park of the Soul's Pride. The person on my ship is not property. She is my crew. If you want her, you will have to come and take her. There was silence for several seconds. Then the hegemony voice returned, sounding shocked. You would fight 6 ships with one? That is madness. Maybe, Jiho said. But madness is what we do best. He closed the channel and turned to Kira. Strap yourself in. This is going to be interesting. As the hegemony ships moved closer, Kira finally began to understand what she had witnessed in that alley. It was not just one human helping one alien. It was something much bigger. It was the reason her people's legends had spoken of warriors from a distant world. Warriors who would never surrender, never retreat, and never abandon those under their protection. She was seeing why the galaxy now whispered the human name with fear and respect. She was seeing why hope had returned to the oppressed species of the universe. The battle was about to begin, and Kira knew that whatever happened next would change her life forever. The first hegemony ship fired without warning. A beam of bright blue energy shot through space toward the Soul's Pride. Jiho jerked the controls hard to the left. The beam missed by only a few meters, close enough that Kira could feel the heat through the ship's hull. How are we supposed to fight 6 ships? Kira asked. Her hands gripped the sides of her seat so tight her knuckles were white. We do not fight fair, Jiho said. His voice was calm, but his eyes were focused and dangerous. We fight smart. He pushed the ship toward a large field of asteroids. The rocks floated in space like a giant maze, some as small as cars, others as big as cities. It was the perfect place to hide. The hegemony ships followed, but they had to slow down. Their ships were bigger and more powerful, but that made them clumsy in tight spaces. Human vessel, you cannot escape, the hegemony commander said over the radio. His voice was cold and confident. Surrender now and your death will be quick. Jiho did not answer. He was too busy flying. The Soul's Pride twisted and turned between the asteroids like a fish swimming through coral. Behind them, Kira watched one of the hegemony ships clip a large rock. The ship spun out of control and crashed into another asteroid. It exploded in a ball of fire. 5 ships left, Jiho said. How did you know that would happen? Kira asked. I did not, Jiho admitted. But sometimes being lucky is better than being good. He flew the ship behind a mountain-sized asteroid and shut off all the engines. Everything went quiet. Even the lights dimmed to save power. What are we doing? Kira whispered. Waiting, Jiho said, and listening. Through the ships. Sensors? They could hear the hegemony ships talking to each other. Where did they go? One voice said. They must be hiding behind one of these rocks, another replied. Split up. Search every asteroid. 2 hegemony ships flew past their hiding spot, their engines glowing blue in the darkness. When they were far enough away, Jiho started his engines. Again, he flew the ship around the asteroid and came up behind the 3 remaining ships. Surprise, he said, and fired every weapon his ship had. The first ship exploded before it knew what hit it. The other 2 spun around to fight, but Jiho was already moving, diving behind another asteroid before they could fire back. 3 ships left, he said, but their luck was running out. The hegemony commanders were getting smarter. Instead of chasing Jiho through the asteroids, they spread out and waited. When the Soul's Pride came out of hiding to attack again, all 3 ships were ready. Energy beams filled the space around them. Jiho flew like a madman, twisting and turning to avoid the weapons fire. But there were too many beams coming from too many directions. One shot hit them, The ship shook so hard that Kira was thrown from her seat. Alarms started ringing everywhere. Sparks flew from broken control panels. The lights flickered and went out. "Engine failure," the computer announced in its flat, emotionless voice. "Life support failing. Hull breach detected." Jiho felt sharp pain in his chest. When the ship had shaken, a piece of broken metal had cut him. Blood was soaking through. "His shirt, master!" Kira cried. She ran to him and tried to help, but he pushed her away. "Get away from me," Jiho said through clenched teeth. "I need to fix the engines or we are both going to die." "No," Kira said firmly. "Let me help you first." She placed her hands on his chest over the wound. Her skin began to glow with soft blue light. Jiho felt the pain disappear. The bleeding stopped, but something else was happening too. He felt stronger, faster. His mind felt clearer than it had ever been. "What did you do to me?" he asked. "I healed you," Kira said. "But I also enhanced you. Made you better, faster, stronger. My people are forbidden to change other species, but I do not care about forbidden things anymore." Jiho looked at his hands. They moved with perfect control. His thoughts were sharp and quick. He could see solutions to problems that had seemed impossible seconds before. "My people will kill me for what I just did," Kira said quietly. "Your people are not here," Jiho said. "And I'm glad you did it. Thank you." Together they worked to fix the ship. Jiho's enhanced speed and strength let him repair things that should have taken hours. Kira used her biomanipulation abilities to heal the ship's damaged neural systems. The computer stopped its alarm warnings. The engines came back to life. "Life support restored," the computer announced. "All systems operational." The three remaining hegemony ships were still hunting for them. But when Jiho flew out to face them, he was different. His reactions were lightning fast. He could predict what the enemy ships would do before they did it. He flew the Soul's Pride like it was part of his own body. When the hegemony ships fired, he was never where they expected him to be. When he fired back, his shots hit exactly where he wanted them to. The first ship exploded when Jiho put 3 missiles through its shield generators. The second ship tried to ram him, but Jiho spun his ship upside down and fired straight up into its engines. It blew apart in a shower of metal and fire. The last ship tried to retreat, but it was too late. Jiho caught up to it and destroyed its weapons. Then he opened a communication channel. "Tell your bosses," he said to the surviving crew, "that this is what happens when you hunt humans. We do not run. We do not hide. We fight back." He let the damaged ship limp away. It would carry his message back to the hegemony. When the battle was over, Jiho and Kira sat in the quiet Bridham hard. The asteroid field around them was filled with floating wreckage. "We won," Kira said. She sounded surprised, like she could not believe it. "We won," Jiho agreed. But he was thinking about what came next. The hegemony would not ignore what had happened here. They would send more ships, bigger ships. The hunt was just beginning. "What happens now?" Kira asked. "Now we disappear for a while," Jiho said, "and we find some friends. Because next time they will send an entire fleet." Kira nodded. She was beginning to understand how humans thought. They did not just fight one battle and hope it would be enough. They planned for the next battle, and the one after that. They never stopped fighting. They never gave up. As the Soul's Pride flew away from the battlefield, Kira felt something she had never felt before. She felt proud. Not just of Jiho, but of herself. She had broken the most sacred law of her people to save him. She had chosen to fight instead of submit. For the first time in her life, she felt truly free. 3 days later, at a small trading station called Haven's Rest, a human trader named Minho found them. "I heard about your fight with the hegemony hunters," Minho said as he sat down at their table in the station's cantina. "1 ship against 6. People are calling it impossible." "It happened," Jiho said simply. "I know," Minho smiled. "That is why I came looking for you." Minho was older than Jiho, with gray hair and scars on his hands. He looked like a man who had seen many battles. "Other human captains are talking," Minho continued. "We want to form a group. A coalition to protect refugee aliens and fight hegemony oppression wherever we find it. Kira listened to this conversation with growing amazement. You mean there are more humans like G.Dike, my captain? Hundreds, Minho said. Maybe thousands. All across the galaxy, humans are standing up to the hegemony. We rescue slaves, protect refugee colonies, attack their supply lines. Each victory shows aliens that freedom is possible. What do you want from us? Jeho asked. Join us, Minho said. Your story is already spreading. A human who refuses to give up his alien crew member. A battle that should have been certain death. You are becoming a symbol. I do not want to be a symbol, Jeho said. Too late, Minho laughed. You already are. Over the next few weeks, Jeho met with other human captains at secret locations throughout the sector. Each had their own story of defying the hegemony. Captain Sung had rescued 200 slaves. From a prison world, Captain Yuna had destroyed 3 hegemony tax collection ships. Captain Tay had helped an entire alien colony escape to free space, but Kira was changing too, and Jeho could see it happening day by day. She stopped calling him master and started using his name. She began making decisions without asking permission first. When they met with other aliens, she spoke to them as an equal, not as a servant. I have been thinking, she said one morning as they traveled to another meeting. My people have a telepathic network. We can speak to each other across great distances, even between star systems. I remember you mentioning that, Jeho said. If I could contact other Villani survivors, Kira continued, I could tell them what I have learned from humans. I could show them that fighting back is possible. That sounds dangerous, Jeho said. What if the hegemony tracks the signal? That is not the worst danger, Kira said quietly. Using the network to spread rebellion would break our oldest and most sacred laws. A Villani who teaches others to resist authority can be executed by her own people. Do you still care about those laws? Jeho asked. Kira was quiet for a long moment. 3 weeks ago, I would have said yes. Those laws kept my people safe for thousands of years, but now. Now? Now I think those laws kept us as slaves, Kira said. I do not want to be safe anymore. I want to be free. That night, while Jeho slept, Kira sat in the ship's meditation room and reached out through the Villani telepathic network. She had not used this ability since her homeworld was destroyed. It felt strange and frightening. One by one, she touched the minds of her people scattered across the galaxy. Most Villani were slaves now, working in factories or laboratories or worse places. They had accepted their fate because they believed resistance was impossible. Kira showed them something different. She shared her memories of watching Jeho fight 6 ships and win. She showed them what it felt like to make her own choices. She shared the human concept that being strong did not mean you had the right to hurt the weak. The response was immediate and terrifying. Some Villani were so scared by her thoughts that they cut the connection and blocked her from their minds. They reported her to hegemony authorities as a rebel and traitor, but others listened. They began to remember what freedom felt like. They started to ask questions they had never dared to ask before. Meanwhile, the hegemony was getting more and more angry about the human resistance. They sent their most feared commander, Overlord Vex, to stop the rebellion before it could spread further. Vex was known throughout the galaxy as the Breaker of Worlds. When a planet rebelled against hegemony rule, Vex was the one they sent to make an example. He did not just defeat enemies, he destroyed them so completely that others would never dare to fight back. His fleet began attacking any station or planet that helped human rebels. If a trading post sold supplies to refugee ships, Vex burned it to the ground. If a colony gave shelter to escaped slaves, Vex killed everyone who lived there. The message was clear. Anyone who helped humans would die. When Vex destroyed the refugee colony at Sanctuary Prime, where 300 Villani had been living in freedom, Kira felt every death through the telepathic network. They are all dead, she said, tears streaming down her face. Children, elders, families who had just learned what it meant to be free, all dead because they dared to hope. The pain and rage of those deaths broke something deep inside Kira. For thousands of years, her people had believed that submission was the only way to survive. When faced with overwhelming force, they surrendered, but not this time. They will pay for this, Kira said. Her voice was quiet, but there was something in it that made Jiho look at her with new respect. Yes, he said, they will. For the first time in Villani history, one of their people had chosen anger over submission. Kira was no longer the frightened servant who had begged for protection. She was becoming something her species had never produced before, a warrior. Through the telepathic network, other Villani felt her transformation. They began to understand that they did not have to accept their fate. They could fight back, across the galaxy in secret and in silence. A revolution was being born. The final battle came sooner than anyone expected. Admiral Bin, Jiho's old commander from the Earth Navy, contacted them with urgent news. The hegemony is planning something big, she said over the secure communication link. Overlord Vex has gathered the largest fleet we have ever seen. They are heading for the ruins of Velen Prime. Kira's face went pale, my homeworld. But there is nothing left there. The hegemony strip-mined everything years ago. Not everything, Admiral Bin said grimly. Our spies report they are harvesting the last bioneural resources from the destroyed cities. Apparently, the neural networks of your people do not die when the cities are destroyed. They just go dormant. They are stealing the memories of my dead people, Kira whispered. The last traces of our civilization. It gets worse, Admiral Bin continued. They are using the harvesting operation as bait. They know human ships will come to stop them. Vex plans to destroy our entire resistance fleet in one battle. Jiho looked at the star charts. Velen Prime was 3 days away at maximum speed. If they were going to act, they had to leave immediately. How many ships do we have? He asked. 30 human vessels, Admiral Bin said. Plus whatever alien refugees we can convince to fight with us. Against how many hegemony ships? Intelligence estimates over 300, she said quietly. It will be a suicide mission. Maybe, Jiho said. But we are going anyway. I hoped you would say that, Admiral Bin smiled. Earth is sending a liberation fleet, but they will not arrive for days. If we are going to save what is left of Velen Prime, we have to do it ourselves. Kira had been quiet during this conversation, but now she spoke up. There is something I have not told you, she said. About the telepathic network. Both humans looked at her. Over the past weeks, I have been teaching other Villani about resistance. Not just the free ones, the slaves too. Thousands of them work on hegemony ships and stations. They maintain the bioneural systems that control everything. What are you saying? Jiho asked. I am saying that when we attack, we will not be fighting alone, Kira said. Every Villani slave in Vex's fleet has been waiting for this moment. When the battle begins, they will turn the hegemony's own systems against them. Admiral Bin stared at her. You organized a slave rebellion across the entire hegemony fleet? Not just the fleet, Kira said quietly. Every hegemony facility in this sector, every ship, every station. When I give the signal, thousands of my people will choose freedom over submission for the first time in our history. 3 days later, the combined human and alien fleet dropped out of hyperspace near Velen Prime. The planet looked like a corpse floating in space. Where once there had been beautiful bio-cities that grew like living coral, now there were only scars and craters. The hegemony had stripped away everything valuable and left the rest to die. Overlord Vex's fleet was waiting for them. 300 ships arranged in perfect formation, each one larger and more powerful than anything the humans had. At the center sat Vex's flagship, a massive dreadnought that could destroy entire cities with a single shot. Human vessels, Vex's voice came over the communication channels. You have walked into your own death. Surrender now, and I will make your execution quick. This is Admiral Bin of the Earth Liberation Fleet, came the reply. We do not surrender. We do not retreat, and we do not leave our friends behind. Then you will die for your stubbornness, Vex said. The battle began. For the first few minutes, it looked exactly like the trap Vex had planned. The hegemony fleet surrounded the smaller human force and began tearing it apart. Energy beams and missiles filled the space between the fleets. 2 human ships exploded in the opening minutes. But then something impossible happened. Throughout Vex's fleet, bio-neural systems began failing, weapons stopped working, shields collapsed. Engines shut down. On ship after ship, Villani slaves were using their abilities to sabotage the very systems they had been forced to maintain. "What is happening?" Vex screamed over the communication channels. "Revolution," Kira said simply. Through the telepathic network, she coordinated the rebellion. Thousands of Villani across dozens of ships acted as one. They turned the hegemony's advanced technology into useless metal. The human fleet pressed their advantage. Captain Sung led a group of ships against the disabled hegemony cruisers. Captain Yuna attacked their supply vessels. Captain Tay rescued the slaves from ships that had lost life support. In the center of the battle, Overlord Vex's flagship tried to escape. But Kira reached out with her abilities and touched the ship's bio-neural core. She convinced it to shut down its engines. The massive dreadnought began falling toward the surface of Velen Prime. "You cannot defeat the hegemony," Vex transmitted as his ship plummeted toward the dead planet. "We are eternal. We are inevitable." "Maybe," Jiho said, opening a channel to the dying ship. "But today you lose." Vex's flagship crashed into the ruins of Kira's former home. The explosion could be seen from orbit. When the battle ended, the space around Velen Prime was filled with floating wreckage. But most of it belonged to the hegemony. The human fleet had lost only 5 ships. Hundreds of alien slaves had been freed. Admiral Bin's reinforcements arrived just as the fighting ended. But they were not needed. The victory was complete. Later, as the combined fleet regrouped near the planet's largest moon, something unprecedented happened. Representatives from dozens of species gathered on Admiral Bin's flagship. Humans, Villani, Korathi, Tikkans, and others who had never worked together before. Kira stood before them all. She was no longer the frightened servant who had begged for protection in that alley. She had become something new, the first elected leader of the Free Villani. "I renounce my bond to Captain Jiho Park," she said clearly. "Not because I do not care for him, but because I choose to stand beside him as an equal." The crowd cheered. Jiho smiled proudly. "From this day forward," Kira continued, "Villani will not serve as slaves to anyone. We will work with humans and all other free species to build something better than the galaxy has ever seen." "What will we call this alliance?" asked Captain Sung. "The Coalition of Free Worlds," Admiral Bin suggested. "I like that," Jiho said. "But let us make one thing clear. No species is more important than any other. We are partners, not masters and servants." Later, as they stood on the bridge of the Soul's Pride, Jiho and Kira watched the new Alliance fleet preparing for their next mission. "Do you ever regret saving me that day?" Kira asked. Jiho shook his head. "You taught me something important. Sometimes helping one person can change the entire galaxy. What will we do now?" She asked. "What humans always do," Joe said. "We keep fighting. We keep hoping. We never give up." Through the ship's communication system, they could hear aliens from a dozen different species planning their next moves. They talked about freeing more slaves, protecting more refugees, and spreading the revolution to every corner of the galaxy. They were no longer victims or servants. They were free beings working together to build a better future. And in the dark corners of the galaxy, where oppressed peoples still suffered under hegemony rule, they began to whisper a human word that had become legendary throughout the stars. Hope. The revolution had begun, and it would spread to every world where someone dreamed of freedom. Because that was what humans did best. They made impossible things possible, and they never left anyone behind.